Right off the heels of Black Ops 4 famously not having a campaign, we get the new Call of Duty Modern Warfare, promising a fresh revision of the previous Modern Warfare series and attempting to give us something even more dark, gritty, and contemporary. And for the most part, I think it was a success, though I would like to see some improvements for the future Modern Warfare games. Now, to be clear, this review is for the campaign only, and I'll have a second review out for the multiplayer. So, Call of Duty Modern Warfare takes the Modern Warfare series name, but it's not a sequel. It's actually just a straight up reimagining of the whole thing. So, there are lots of familiar faces here, but the story is completely different. This time, it centers around the Russian invasion of the fictional country of Urzikstan and a terrorist group called Al-Qatala. Just like in the previous Call of Duties, the point of view shifts around depending on the mission, this time going between CIA operative Alex, resistance fighter Farah Karim, and SAS Sergeant Kyle Garrick. The story aims to be a very dark and mature depiction of war, testing your morality along the way. It was apparently so dark that it led IGN to make this video where several employees complained that the demo was just too hard to play through.
Making you so uncomfortable to the point where, like, I at least personally, I feel like I don't necessarily want to play 15 to 20 hours of what I was just shown. If the headline coming out of this was, you can play this game non-lethally, I think that would have, if that had been tacked onto the end of that demo, like, that would have really changed my opinion of it.
Dude, how the fuck do you fight terrorists non-lethally?
But in all seriousness though, the game certainly does have some dark moments and uncomfortable scenarios, which I thought were great. The terrorist attack on London and the house raid were some immediate highlights for me, the first offering a chaotic mess that you have to carefully sort your way through, and the other giving players a very tense crawl through an apartment complex. In that mission you have to be very careful as you are in a civilian area, but any one of the residents could be a terrorist. It's good stuff, and I like the way certain narrative beats translate into gameplay. Though I will say, maybe it's just me, but I really didn't think it was nearly as dark as media outlets or Twitch streamers are making it seem. Now don't get me wrong, it definitely has some dark moments, but a lot of them are relatively surface level in terms of moral decision making. Meaning that while this may be a pretty harsh thing in the moment, it's a very obvious choice to make. You're at war and you can't save everyone, and yeah, it sucks, but that's the reality of it. Like, sure, he's gonna execute that family, but you're a moron if you actually open the door and let him in. It certainly makes for uncomfortable scenarios though, which I really liked. But in terms of like testing your morality, I didn't really think about my decisions afterwards, as it was pretty easy for me to decide. Again, maybe I'm just a little worse than everyone else, but in the context of what was happening, I had no problems taking the gloves off.
Side note while editing, in case I wasn't clear enough with this, as it stands now, pretty much every decision you make either has a good outcome, which is the right outcome, or a bad outcome. And it's just like, you know, pass-fail kind of thing. And I'd be interested to see them try to do the whole morality thing where there's choices you have to make that aren't necessarily good or bad. You know, there's positives and negatives for each. And I'd like to see them try to implement that in the future.
The main story is pretty decent and works well in context with the game, even though it's certainly something we've kind of seen before, and the villains aren't particularly memorable. The campaign was also a bit on the shorter side, only taking me around 5 hours to beat, which is perfectly fine, but the story definitely feels like a setup for later games to come, as the ending kind of fizzles out. It's just not as explosive as past Call of Duty endings, and I think the only mission that I wasn't a huge fan of was the final mission, unfortunately. It's not bad by any means, it's just a little bit standard when I would have liked something exciting for a finale. The voice acting was pretty great though, and I thought Captain Price was absolutely fantastic. I honestly like this Price better than the original. He's just so damn good.
You draw the line wherever you need it, Sergeant. End of the day, someone has to make the enemy scared of the dark.
But please, fix the cutscenes. Oh my god, dude, I have no idea how this happened, but on PC, the cutscenes lag and stutter like crazy, and it's so hard to follow along and be immersed when this is happening. It doesn't happen for the entire game, but when it does, it is just so bad. And even though they said they're aware of the issue, it's been a week and it still hasn't been fixed. If you're on PC, holding out till they fix it isn't the worst idea. But if you do want to just play it, you can just go for it, as some systems seem to be not having as many issues as others. Either way, it's bad and it should be fixed. Overall though, the main plot is solid but nothing crazy, but I like the darker and more serious tone, and I think it makes for some memorable moments. Though I definitely hope the next games in the series can go even deeper on the morality of everything. I gotta be honest, this may be the best gunplay in the entire Call of Duty series, and I consider the old CODs to have some of the best gunplay in general, but this time it's just next level. The guns all have this incredible weight to them thanks to the phenomenal animations, and I mean, every single shot just feels so visceral and impactful. Killing enemies is more satisfying than ever, and every gun feels good to use. The addition of the mount mechanic adds a new layer to the game, allowing you to post up behind cover and steady your aim, and the missions make great use of all the various weapons with all types of different encounters. I love the over-the-top action moments as well as the times where the game opens it up a bit and kind of lets you approach it how you want. Now, there isn't exactly freedom here, as there are still wrong ways to do things, but I like the way it affects the pacing, allowing you to take it slow and find some clever openings. The game also offers up a realism mode, where it sets the difficulty to veteran and turns off all the HUD elements. If you're planning on playing the game through a second time, I would highly recommend playing it on realism because it is extremely immersive. And the switches between the three protagonists are also pretty solid, as none of the characters really had a dull mission, save for the last one, which wasn't bad, but again, it was nowhere near as explosive as past Call of Duties. The only other negative I have is that the AI can get a bit stuck at times, with Price in particular having moments where he just kind of stands there for a few seconds, but that's very minor. Overall, fantastic gunplay, top tier animations, and great missions. So, Call of Duty in the past has always looked good, but never quite great. Well, this game changes all that because, I mean, it looks amazing. The switch to a new engine really paid off in terms of the visuals, and it's easily the best looking Call of Duty ever. But what's even more impressive is the fact that it looks this good, and it runs this good. I mean, I was well over 120 FPS for the vast majority of the campaign, with all settings on high or ultra. The lighting is also great, and the use of ray tracing enhances the shadows in the game, though I will say the implementation of RTX here is certainly nowhere near as good as in Control, but it's still cool nonetheless. The music is also pretty solid with some classic Call of Duty hero horns and action tracks, but also some fantastic slow-building droning pieces that can be found throughout the score. They really reminded me of something out of Sicario or something done by Johan Johansson, and the game in general just sounds great, as all the guns and the explosions are loud and impactful, particularly the precision airstrike. God, I love how that sounds. Overall, great looking game, great sounding game, and it runs great too. So yeah, this is simply just a great campaign. It's fun as hell, it's got some memorable missions, and it certainly has some darker moments. Though again, I would really like to see them go deeper into the morality of everything in the future. Also, the cutscenes need to be fixed for this game and definitely any future iterations. I'm going to give this game a tentative 8.5, assuming they fix the cutscenes because they run fine on PS4 and Xbox. But if they don't for some reason, I would drop it to an 8. But either way, really fun campaign that I can easily recommend to everyone, and I can't wait for the sequels.